Hi, my name is Ruben Merre. I am co-founder and CEO of NGRAVE, and I'm from Belgium. NGRAVE is a blockchain technology company on a mission to radically improve your security and your ease of use when you're managing your cryptocurrencies. Fun fact about myself, I love surfing, and I noticed that Ram, one of the co-founders of the program, is actually a ex-pro surfer. So yeah, please accelerate me on that as well. Why did I become an entrepreneur? Well, when I was 8 years old, I had my first tiny little business, and I just loved it. And these days, every day I go to work for NGRAVE, I just have that same feeling. It's something that comes from inside. It's your nature that says this is what you're supposed to do. What I think I will get out of the program, what I hope to get out of the program is, first of all, obviously grow my network. Secondly, I know that the platform is also used as a due diligence kind of way for potential investors. So I'm confident we will get value out of that as well. And thirdly, we are actually launching our pre-order campaign the 26th of May on Indiegogo. So these 4 weeks are actually running up to that. So I believe we can gain a lot of traction during the time. And obviously, I just want to show you a little sneak peek of our NGRAVE Zero hardware wallet. Completely offline, you can create and manage your own cryptocurrency accounts. That's it. Next sneak peek will maybe show a little bit more. Thank you very much. Bye.
Sorry, you just knocked me off my feet. Somebody did listen.
I listen.
Yes.
And
So guys, we are live at the moment, and the first thing that the live streamers heard is that Shlomo got knocked off his feet, and that's because Ruben displayed his great memory when we had the mentor introduction session last Monday. So now we're with the third startup of the day, the last session for these mentors. NGRAVE, it's 2 p.m. CET here in Frankfurt. We have 4 mentors with us. I would ask Shlomo, Jaco, Miguel, and Michael to introduce yourselves in that order, please.
Okay, I wish they would hear now, but quickly, indeed, I'm from Israel. Worked all my life in the Israeli high-tech industry, in kind of different industries there, like robotics and machine vision, AOI, etc. Currently, I'm involved with a fintech company dealing with insurance and financial institutions, which is also a veteran of Accelerator Frankfurt company, which I was a mentor of. So welcome and good to be here.
All right, I guess it's my turn. I'm an angel investor and a financial advisor. I've done angel investing for 9 years, roughly now, and invested in more than 20 companies. And for the last 4, almost 5 years, I've worked as a partner in a company advising mostly debt funding for growth companies and startups. And before these activities, I used to be a VP and a CEO in 2 software companies, and a partner as well in both of them, and we exited them to bigger companies. Not at the same time, one at a time.
Cool, Miguel. I'm more of a technologist. I've worked in consulting, risk management, AI, almost exclusively for the financial industry. Did a couple of have 4 years in the blockchain space, working with institutions and startups. I did from the private blockchain to the crazy ICO, and I'm now focusing on the exchanges and crypto asset custody.
Yes, and I'm Michael, fintech turned banker, living and working in London since 5 years. We advise founders on strategy, basically introduce them to investors and stuff like that. A bit of consulting here and there on the other side, and connected to Frankfurt through FinTech Germany Award, which I helped launching 5 years ago. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Ruben, the floor is yours. Introduce shortly yourself and take us through your company.
Yes, hi everybody. My name is Ruben Merre. I'm co-founder and CEO of NGRAVE. And our company is basically on a mission to radically improve your security and your ease of use when you are managing your cryptocurrencies. And that brings me immediately to the point of the agenda of the day, which is our business model canvas. And I'm going to share it right now. Can you see it?
Yes, we can
Yes.
see it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Can you make it a little bit bigger?
Of course.
Looking at the laptop screen.
Which part would you like me to zoom in on? The problems?
Just zoom in on the parts that you're speaking.
Yeah.
All right. So obviously, I don't know what your level of experience is or knowledge is in the blockchain space. And I'm not only talking about obviously the mentors, but also about the people who are in the live stream. So do you want me to maybe very quickly introduce the concept, the problem of cryptocurrencies and the security around that, and how we approach it and how we solve it?
Yes, that would be perfect. Absolutely.
Right. So the main problem today in the cryptocurrency space, one of these big adoption hurdles, keeping it from being worldwide adopted, is security. And if you just look at the numbers, at 2018, we had a record $2.5 billion that were stolen from crypto wallets. And in 2019, we completely crushed that record, and we pointed $4.5 billion in stolen cryptocurrencies. So this problem of security is one that is actually increasing in size and frequencies in terms of hacks. And obviously that has to put us to thinking of what is the actual root cause of this problem. And therefore, it is very important to understand what a blockchain wallet is actually all about. And it's fairly simple. So if you compare it to a traditional bank account, you have your bank account itself from which you can send money from and to. On the blockchain, something similar exists. It's called the public key. So it's like a string of alphanumerical characters, like zeros, ones, A's, ABC, and so on. But that is your address. So let's assume it's Bitcoin address you have. Then you can send from that public key, as it is called, Bitcoin from your account, or you can receive Bitcoin to that account. So you can actually interchange it with your peers in the exact same way as you would do with your bank account. The big difference comes at the other side. How do you secure your crypto address? So today, your bank account, how you secure that is with a PIN code, with a two-factor authentication device. And the thing is, if you would at any point lose that PIN code or the device, you just call the bank and they will give you a new one. On the blockchain, there are no banks. There are simply, well, in the actual vision of blockchain, there are no banks or centralized players. So there is basically just you, your password to your account and your account. And so your account is called a public key and your password is called a private key. So that really comes from the basics of cryptography, where this private key actually gives you access to any kind of Bitcoin you would have on the account. And that brings me to the next part, which is every single cryptocurrency hack that we have seen until this date is in one way or another revolving around stealing the private key. So stealing the key, to the special key to your cryptocurrency account. And one thing I would like to stress here is, why are these private keys so important? And we call this ourselves in our company the private key paradox. And it basically means that the private key, it is so secure that if you do not know my private key, you cannot brute force it. So you can put the biggest computer on earth and try to guess my private key. It's impossible to crack it. There are simply too many possible variations. On the other hand, if you just find it, so you just stand here behind me, you look over my shoulder, you see my private key, you don't have to brute force it. So for hackers, this means that as long as they can get an online connection to the place where your online key is stored, they don't have to brute force it. They just have to find it. And finding stuff on computers is very easy. So there are so many different ways that hackers can actually, let's say, open their toolbox, try to attack you. And the main problem with that is that at some point in time, early or late, you get a online connection with your private key. And the best example are simply cryptocurrency exchanges. So what happens there? Well, you get all these accounts, your Bitcoin account, an Ethereum account, and other crypto accounts. You get a password, just like with the bank, to log on to the platform. But the private keys are never shared with you. So you never own a single private key, which actually means you never own a single Bitcoin. The cryptocurrency exchange, they own it. And that is why you see so many exit scams with all these exchanges just leaving from one day to the next with your money. And if they don't do it, the hackers beat them to it, because these exchanges are online and you can still find the private keys. So for us, that means private keys are mismanaged. And the only way you can ever really keep a private key safe is if you make it offline and you never expose it at any point in time afterwards. And so just the security part, that actually brings me to the first part of our solution. So in 2018, we came together with the 3 co-founders and we had this epiphany of the private key paradox. Private keys cannot be online. We have to be offline at all times. And so we built a 100% offline hardware wallet. So what is a hardware wallet? This here is a hardware wallet. It's basically an offline touchscreen device that you can turn on, in our case at least, with our solution, with a single button on the side. You can create your Bitcoin address from thin air. So we don't connect with the blockchain to do so. We just have this device, we make a private key, we make a public key, and we can do that in a very easy way for all your accounts. And then the only thing we have to do is sync these accounts to the blockchain. And we are able, if I put it in a nutshell, to sync your accounts, to do transactions, to get transactions, everything you want to do in terms of managing your account, we can do it offline with this device. So we never connect or expose your private keys. And that's the first pillar of our security solution. The second one is, what if somebody finds my device? Then it's game over. So what we did is we completely tamper-proofed it. So actually, if you try to attack this device, it will notice and it will wipe all the keys. And the third part, so we have offline, so 0 remote attack vectors, physically tamper-proofed. And the third one is, we also, just to be sure, because we're that serious about your security, we have certified our secure firmware for the highest specification in the world. It's called EAL7. Banks and governments, on average, can get to 5 or 6. None of them have 7. So we are the only player in the crypto industry. We introduced this EAL7 level of security. So for businesses, this will be very important, but also for the end user. And so far, I would maybe just pause and ask you if you're still following, if you have any questions on this aspect of the solution.
I think that, Ruben, when you explained it to me, the question that kept lingering in my head is, if the device is offline, and it's always offline, how the hell can you synchronize it with a blockchain online?
Yeah, and the answer is actually fairly straightforward. So this beautiful touchscreen, it allows for a very simple picture, right? And the picture I'm talking about is a QR code. So the moment you have generated all your accounts, the only thing you need to do is share those accounts, so only the public stuff, so no secret private keys, and you put them in a QR code. So basically, then you have an app. We have an app in our ecosystem. You take your app, you scan the QR codes, and what you're doing is you're just uploading all of these accounts. So bank account 1, bank account 2, Bitcoin account, so many. And at that point, your app can just get all the raw data from the blockchain. And so
the app is on your mobile phone, not on the device.
No, the app. I'm talking about a mobile app. So exactly, and that means that you can actually in real time see everything that's happening to your accounts, but the private keys, they are still offline. And so that means that nobody can actually attack or steal your crypto, which is obviously exactly the opposite in most of the existing solutions today. If you want to receive a transaction, the only thing you have to do is show the QR code on your phone from your address, or you can just like do clipboard, copy paste, you paste it in your WhatsApp message to the person you want to send you money. And if you want to sign a transaction, then again, you need the QR codes, and there you basically start on your phone. Yeah, so you have your phone, you say, I want to send 5 Bitcoin going from Ram to Ruben. And obviously, I have to say, this is my account, this is Ruben's account, and this is the number I want to send. You show that in a QR code to our device, which has a built-in camera in the back. And you will see exactly what you have actually scanned, because the app is online and can be hacked. And then you basically just have to verify, is it still 5 Bitcoin? Is it still his address? Is it still mine address? And if everything is okay, you can use your biometrics, for example, your fingerprint. You can use a PIN code. You can sign a transaction. You make a QR code of the signed transaction, and you show that again to your app. All of this happens in maybe 20 seconds. And it all happens in a way that your private keys are never, ever exposed at any point. And you can actually do very simple and very intuitive QR code technology to do whatever you want with your cryptocurrencies. And as you know, QR codes are by now a very integrated technology. It's very easy to use, it's intuitive, it's fast. So we actually integrate all the stuff of online things that are fast with the benefits of a super secure offline solution.
Yep, go ahead. Is it clear to everybody? I don't hear. Yes, I see thumbs up. Jaco a little bit. Maybe we could see a demo. I don't know. Would that help?
Yeah.
A demo. Sure. Let me just turn off the screen. I mean the share, and then I will reshare. So stop share.
So how do you get the keys to the device if it's offline?
Do you mean on the hardware wallet? How do I make the keys?
Yeah, how do you make the keys and put them on the device?
Yes. Well, I will give you the answer with the demo. I'm just opening up a screen. So basically, if you go to our website, just NGRAVE.io, there, the first thing you will see is a whole demo of how the device actually works. So I'm just going to open it up myself. I'm going to let the device do its thing. And in the meanwhile, I'm going to share, obviously, my screen. I'm just looking where I can find it.
Bottom of the screen.
Yeah, that I know. It's just really slow. My computer, not my hardware wallet. Okay, so here it is. Normally, you should be able to see it. Can you see this beautiful device?
Yeah.
All right, great. I'm gonna restart, so he starts from the beginning. Yeah, so here, this is the first time you use it. You make a PIN code, you actually register your fingerprint, and then a unique key is generated. So we make the key, we make these private keys or these secret keys, we make them completely offline together with the device. So if we go a bit into detail there, what happens is there are chips that are called true random number generators. These are certified chips that have been worked on for the last decades. And these are capable of creating, let's say, a range of private keys that are random enough. And because obviously, if you think about what is a quality private key, it has to be able to cover the whole range of possible keys, which is 2 to the 256th power or 10 to the 80th power, or comparable with the number of atoms in the universe. So a strong key generation process needs to be able to cover that whole range, whole spectrum of keys, which is obviously extremely difficult. And at the same time, that key needs to be made randomly. So if I try to remake your key, the process should be unpredictable, so that I would never get to that same key. So these chips are called true random number generators. So what's in a word? The problem with these chips is that they are standardized by like big security firms, and there are actually backdoors. So for us, that means that we cannot just simply rely on the chip, because then there is at least a residual risk that in our paranoid security model is not allowed. So what we do is we take a true random number generation chip. We also take your fingerprint. We also take light measurements, because light is one of the best maximizers of randomness. And we combine all of that into a key that you see on the screen moving. So here at the moment, you can actually see what's happening. So here, normally the whole key is moving. And then you can actually say, freeze the key. You highlight a couple of parts of the key, and you can shuffle these. So this is a sort of an interaction process with which you make the key entirely your own. Because you have to imagine this thing is done offline. So the only way NGRAVE would still know what the key is if the device just gives you a key. The device says this is your key, then there is a risk that NGRAVE, so my company, knows what the key is. We might have a whole database of keys we ever made, and we can eventually hack all our users. That is a problem that exists with all the existing hardware wallets. So therefore, we made a completely new key generation process. So it's a whole innovation by itself in the blockchain space. And the result is it's a key that is offline generated, so only ever seen by you and your eyes. It has been made in a way that is statistically unbreakable and unique. And it is also unpredictable. So even NGRAVE, the actual maker of this device, has no way of ever knowing what your key is. So imagine now that you have a Bitcoin account linked to that, and you send your Bitcoins, all your Bitcoins to that account. Nobody in the world could ever steal those Bitcoins. And that is the basic premise of what we stand for. You own your crypto, and we make it super simple for you to do so. And this is something that doesn't exist today in the market. And I would say this is just value proposition 1.1 of the many innovations we bring to the market.
And now this is awesome. I actually never heard of this, and you explained it crystal clear for me, at least. Now, how do you then synchronize with the blockchain, which is online?
Yeah. So here, what you're seeing now on the screen is you can choose as many coins as you want. You will add these to your account, to your device. And so that's what's happening right now. You can set up your mobile app through the QR code. Basically, you download your mobile app, and now you see your dashboard. Now you see that
you download the mobile app to this device?
No. So the device, the hardware device, it allows you, so it shows you in the setup of your the first time you use it. It shows you a QR code. It says just scan this one, and it will send you to the App Store. So again, very easy. You don't have to go into your phone and do all those steps. You just scan one QR code. You can do it based from your camera without even going into anything specific, and you will be able to download the app. And when that is done, you can also skip that step, of course. You are able to your dashboard will show up. So all the coins you chose, so if you chose Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, you name it, they will all be shown in the device. And then it becomes very simple. You see here, there is a sort of two arrows. That's the sync function. So you just tap that sync function, and it will show you a QR code. And then you use your app, you scan that QR code, and all your accounts are uploaded, let's say, to your software wallet, so to your mobile app.
So they are visible, but they are not uploaded, actually. So there is nobody can tamper with it's just a visual representation, or what?
The question is always, what information are you sharing? And so in this case, you have to know our device will never share anything that can relate back to the private keys. So it will only share your public keys, so your addresses. And maybe one thing that's important to know is with the bank account, you can say, I lost a PIN code, I want a new PIN code, so you can actually change your password. With a blockchain account, you cannot. So this means that your private key, it actually is the source of your address. So your address is calculated from your private key, meaning that you can only go from your private key to your public key, but it's a one-way direction hash function, meaning you can never, if you know my address, go back to my private key. So the only thing we share is the public keys, so your addresses, but never anything on the private keys. So that means that you can never steal anything from my device or from my keys. Make sense? Mm. If I go a bit too fast, tell me. Yeah? I know sometimes I can talk fast.
What about the failure of this device?
The what? The
failure, hardware failure.
Yeah.
Now, every piece of hardware have an end of life.
Yes, correct. So I think one of the things that differentiates NGRAVE from the other players is the way that we look at security. So security for us is not a secure hardware wallet, like I just showed you. It is not a secure cryptocurrency exchange. It is in fact an end-to-end story where everything, every what if has to be examined and there has to be found a solution. So today, if you lose this, the status quo incumbent solution is a piece of paper. This is called a paper wallet. Everybody in the industry is using it. And obviously it is the worst place almost where you can put the backup of your key. So what do you do on that paper wallet? You take the key that is generated on the device, you write it down on a piece of paper. And if you lose this, you just buy a new one, you enter that key and everything is back. So that mechanism is okay, that's good. But obviously, if you lose the paper, you spill water on your paper, everything is gone. And when I say everything, I mean every single last Bitcoin you have on this device will be inaccessible forever.
Or your house burns.
Or if your house burns down, yeah, for example. So that's actually a good point, Leon, because what we did is we said this is absolutely not adequate to the security it should be. And so we actually invented a whole second solution, which is not electronic, because electronics can degrade, just as I think it's Shlomo. Was it Shlomo who said it? Yep. It was Shlomo who said that can degrade. You just stopped my screen sharing, right?
Yeah, I did it on purpose
so we can
see what you're showing.
Yeah. So we actually invented something that's made of high quality metal. So the first thing, what happens is, if your house burns down, like Leon says, nothing happens to your key because this thing will just still be lying around the next day. If you spill water on it, obviously nothing will happen. So this thing is extremely durable. And there is a second failure of the paper wallets that we solve with this. So imagine somebody finds your wallet or your piece of paper. They actually find your key. It's written on it. What you could do is you say, I cut it in 2 pieces, and somebody finds only a part of that key, but it already gives information. So by finding part of your key, I have to brute force only the other part of the key, which is way easier than the full key. And we call that the single point of failure of a singular solution. So what we did is we invented indeed these 2 metal plates, and they are actually forming a cryptographic puzzle. So it is an encrypted backup. Only if you have the 2 plates on top of each other, you can see your key. And the moment you take them separate and somebody finds this or this, they have literally 0 information on your key. And obviously, it's a different thing to explain this, but that's the principle of this solution. So that's the first what if we had to solve. What if I lose my hardware wallet? I need a backup, and it should be a good backup. So then we invented this. We also patented this. And then the next question would be, what if I lose this, right? What if I lose my paper? You lose your Bitcoin forever. What if you lose this? So we actually not only introduce the first encrypted backup, we also introduce the first recoverable backup. So if you lose this, we have actually a mechanism in place that can get you the information back to reconstruct your key. But again, NGRAVE will never have any idea of your key. We cannot define or reconstruct your key based on the information we have from it. Only you will be able to do so. And basically, we have, for every what if you have now in your head, we have a solution. But feel free to dive in. I think for me, this is the level I go in terms of high level, and yeah, then the next step comes. Questions?
So, questions?
Yeah, let's talk about the business numbers a little bit. I assume the product is ready. It's something you can tell now.
Yes, so we're actually in the pre-phase, let's say, of our launch campaign. We started this on Monday, so the same exact time as the program. And the 26th of May, we will be launching this on Indiegogo, but with the side note that we actually already have a working product. So we need that money to build the first batch. Hardware is very expensive, and also to use the proceeds to basically pump it again into our marketing engine.
Right. So what do you think is going to be the price of the product? And how much, what is the cost to you?
Yeah, so that is information I will not publicly share here. But I would say in terms of the cost, that's something we have to keep internal, of course. In terms of the price, it's information I could give you, but not in a Twitch environment. The price, on the other hand, so we know the price. We have actually tested this in 6 different countries, so that we actually know what is the willingness to pay for something like this, because it's difficult to put a price point on it. And the price point is very interesting for us, but what we have to do now in the next 4 weeks is we have to convince people, regardless of what the price would be on the day of the launch, that this project is actually worth their money. And let's say today I tell you just a random number, it's $500. Might be that you say, okay, that's too much for me. I would never pay that for a solution. But if now imagine that I say that day one, you get 50% discount. Just on day one, so you have to be there on day one, but you get that discount. I'm not going to tell you what the price is just yet. You know that this is something you want because everybody has problems with the security and usability of their crypto. So you will at least still be engaged or interested in getting to know more. And we bring so much innovation to the table. The first thing I just showed you was the key, but there's much more. You need time. You need time to get to know the product. That's one thing. The second thing is people need, on average, based on statistics, 7 interactions with your brand. So if we already scare them away on interaction one by saying it's $1,000, then we're actually ruining a beautiful funnel that could actually result in much more conversion. And so therefore, we don't prominently talk about the price yet.
I think maybe the same comment I made yesterday, Ruben. So what is the competition price landscape, just to give Jack an idea, where you're moving?
Yeah, well, it's important, obviously, to know like what is the value proposition of a solution, how far do they go in really protecting your solution? Have they already been hacked? You name it, there are so many things you have to think of. So that's also why you will see an extensive competitive comparison made by us, but purely based on facts. And if you look at the price points, they go today from around, let's say, $100 to $500. You have a couple of cheaper solutions. Like, for example, the Ledger Nano S is now 60 euros, but they replaced that with a newer device. And obviously, those devices are small USB devices with a very small screen. I'm not going to say anything about usability or security. I don't think that's something I have to talk about right now. But you can look those solutions up and basically make up your mind of what do I think is right for me. Some people will buy a Ledger, others will buy a NGRAVE, and that's fine. I mean, the market as we see it is big enough for these, let's say, handful of players that are actually in it.
Actually, what struck me, sorry to cut in, I use a hardware wallet for about $100 US. It works fine, but it doesn't take away the fear when I connect USB to my computer. I still have that fear of having a few Bitcoins on it that somebody will get access. And I think what NGRAVE does is actually, for a bit more, takes away that fear, because you're never online, you're never connected.
Yeah, that's an amazing point. And I think the first thing about our solution you have to know is simply that. So even before you create a key, the only thing you need to do with this is this on and off button on the side. You just tap on it, the device pops on, and that sounds so simple, but every existing solution, either it's online or it's a hardware wallet that you have to connect. Either it's with USB, and obviously the experience is online. You also have Bluetooth solutions. Again, the experience is online. But our solution, it's an offline wall that's always there. There is never a single line of attack that opens up. And there is no crazier feeling than that in the crypto space, and that peace of mind. I think everybody who has cryptocurrencies on an exchange knows the feeling of, is it still going to be there every time you log on? And that's something we wanted to take away.
Still on numbers, so what's your base assumptions? What is the penetration rate, the numbers of users based on current solutions, although maybe not as good as yours? What are the base assumptions?
Yes. Well, there are many ways that you can obviously size a market, bottom up, top down, triangulation, and so on. I think what makes the most sense is to think about the potential and what drives the potential for a market. So if I look at analysis or research of, let's say, McKinsey and BCG, so really like top players in the market, they see the tokenization market. So basically assets moving from current technology infrastructure to blockchain. They see that that thing is going to explode from a couple of billions today to over $24 trillion by 2027. So in the next 7 years. And what is happening at the same time is whenever something moves to blockchain, be it diamonds, bonds, equity, you name it, it's all coming on this blockchain backend. The same Achilles heel remains the problem. And that Achilles heel is again the private key paradox. So it is imperative that you can solve that Achilles heel. And that is exactly what we do. We take away the whole pain of that Achilles heel, and therefore that evolution actually drives the demand for our solution. And if you look at numbers, it differs a bit from a market research report to market research report. But one that I saw recently was that they expected the hardware wallet market from only $200 million in 2019 to grow to $9 billion in the next 5 years. That's 40x multiple. And if you look at the trends that McKinsey and BCG actually project, that big growth actually makes sense. And you have to know there are only a handful of players in this market. And we actually took the whole crypto winter, so the whole last years, and the coronavirus on top of it, to build this to perfection, to not be, let's say, incentivized by a premature bull run and say, it's good enough, we put it out in the market. We just said, no, we take the time. Okay, the bear market takes 2 years, then it takes 2 years to build our product. And I can happily say today that we have achieved, actually even overachieved on our initial premise of building this beautiful solution. So to put again a number on that, what we want to do is we want to be a top 3 player in the market in 5 years from now. So if we talk about, let's say it's let's say that the market is 5 to 10 billion. And we only take 1% instead of 10%. Let's say 30% is our goal. If we take 10% of $1 billion market, that's already not bad for our revenues. And if we downplay it, so in our own figures, in our business cases, we talk about very conservative scenarios because we cannot predict the future. And we say if we even capture just 1% of the market, we already have $100 million in revenue in 5 years from now. And I believe we can really, I believe that is well within the range of our potential.
Thanks.
So what is the channel that you're planning to sell this through?
Yeah, so the channels, there are many different channels, but obviously you have to go through a sort of a bullseye framework where you highlight the ones you like most. So I would say at this point, we have a lot of different channels that we're still testing because we still don't know which one works best. Obviously, we do know that the cryptocurrency markets today, especially if we talk about B2C, because that's where we are going to start, influencers are very important. And we actually have a pretty interesting network regarding that. Also, PR is very important. And we are partnered with Transform Group, which is the biggest PR company in the blockchain space. Their CEO is one of our advisors. And they also launched Ripple, Ethereum, so the big names in the space.
I'm actually talking about sales channels.
Yeah, so the first sales channel you should focus on for us is the Indiegogo campaign. There we will be able to show or not show that there is significant traction. And we also waited for a VC round actually to do the VC round after that first sales campaign, because obviously we don't want to dilute ourselves too much. Our sales campaigns, our sales channels will be through influencers, will be quality over quantity, will be through our network, will be by actually being present on a lot of offline events. We've even done that in the last 2 years, and it is incredible how much we actually got from that, even though we didn't even have a a finished solution. So I believe that it was actually a core strategy of us into the Indiegogo campaign to also be present on all these big worldwide offline events. Obviously, they've all been canceled. So now we're shifting our focus a bit to other versions of marketing there. But I would say if I take the business model canvas, for example, just to be a bit more exhaustive. 1 second.
It sounds like we're talking mostly about marketing channels. What I'm interested in is if somebody wants to buy this product, where are they going to buy it from?
Yeah, okay, so where they can buy it firstly on Indiegogo, which is completely through us. We also don't allow big bulk buys. Why? Because a lot of these companies, retail sellers or dropshippers will actually put it on Amazon and create their own shop. So we will, in a second phase, after the summer, also be launching our own Amazon store so that we actually have an official one and that these other players cannot really have too much impact. So those are, but it will always be, in the beginning at least, through our own specific web store on the internet. And the reason is obviously because these solutions, like the existing ones at least, they get sold by third parties, and these third parties, they actually open up these devices, they put in their own public keys, and the one who buys one sends money instead of to the new address, sends it to the hacker's address. So we have to take into consideration this aspect of what they call supply chain attacks, which our device is intrinsically already completely secure against, but we also have to own our marketing channels. So in the beginning, it will be, you buy it on our store, but you can buy it through influencers, you can buy it through sponsorships that we have, through specific links that we give you in offline events. And apart from that, I would say we have to focus on the thought leadership, on making people aware of the security issues, making them aware of all the innovations we bring and why our solution is so good. And I think one thing I am missing personally in the space is a solution that gives you that real customer experience, the real emotional brand appeal. And obviously, if we just look at the next 4 weeks, we also have the program of Accelerator Frankfurt that is also going to help us in this first go-to-market phase.
Ruben, perhaps if the mentors, Miguel, did you have anything you wanted to jump in?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Did. So there's a lot of so I agree with you with the current pain points. There's a lot of ways that people are going about these pain points. The solution that you have at the moment focuses on individuals, or I would say individuals that don't need very often to put some transactions and to sign some transactions in the network. So that gives you an idea for the market. That you were looking into what the price is that people will like to pay for that. But it would also maybe give you an idea of further problems that people from the user experience have, and from the kind of behavior that they actually have when they interact with the device, or when they want to store, for which purpose they want to store. So you're looking into buy and hold kind of strategy, so to say. How do I interact, or what do I do with the assets? And when you do the buy and hold strategies, for example, one of the things that you might want to think is what happens if not if my wallet gets hacked, but what if I get hacked, in a sense that I die, or who gets the assets? And maybe you could also think, for example, if you hold assets in together with some other people, so what kind of social recovery processes do you have prepared? If that, I think that's a good thing to put on the list, or to think of. If you think of user experience, how can I leave the crypto assets to my kids if something happens to me? And how do I manage some account with some other people? So like, I'm thinking about, if I have a paper wallet, then I could just either do shadow secret sharing or distribute the passcases, the passphrase amongst some people incompletely. So there's a lot of low-tech ways that I can go about that, but I don't know how I would go about if I use your device.
Okay. Yeah, those are fair points. And actually, we also thought of them. So I think the biggest example in the recent years was the Quadriga exchange hack, if it even is a hack. So the owner of the exchange died, and he had the private key of the whole cold wallet of the exchange. And with that, he actually, well, died and freezed around $195 million. So again, what if I die tomorrow? Perfect question. I'm a bit sad that you ask it, but still. These two plates, yeah, these two plates, they are also recoverable posthumously. So we actually figured out something with Chainlink, and Chainlink is one of the 10 biggest crypto projects in the world, to fix this. And so we are able to fix the problem of I die, these two plates need to get in some way, one way or another, to my next of kin. And I could go in detail about it, but I think we don't have the time left for that. So I would be glad
about
to
5 minutes.
That's 5 minutes, yeah. Because you also asked another question about the co-management of your wallet. So, and also about B2B, obviously. So the beauty about something like this is it's tamper-proof. It is offline. Everything you need in terms of requirements is already here. In terms of hardware, in terms of firmware, you are entirely correct that B2B has other requirements than B2C. One of them is governance. And for example, I need multi-signature schemes where two people can actually sign something because they are co-owners of the account. So that's really simple in terms of implementation. All the cryptography you need for Shamir secret sharing, you name it, everything is on this device. The only thing we have to do is we have to make it visible on the screen that you can use it. And that means that if we go to B2B, it's fairly, I'm not saying it's easy, I'm just saying it's fairly simple for us to do that in a new development of this device versus building a whole new device. It will not take us 2 years to build it. It will take us a matter of months. So we cover all of those requirements as well. And maybe just to come back to these two plates, what actually happens is we have a KYC solution that you need. You can choose whichever KYC provider you want. You can maybe do one through Unilogin, one of the other startups, and you can there KYC yourself. You can KYC your beneficiary, let's say your son, and in the event that you pass away, there is a certain message that the KYC provider keeps that can actually be released to your beneficiary. And what Chainlink, for example, does in that scheme is they are the oracles. So they are the ones who actually can validate the truth of that you actually passed away. So they can serve as an obituary that gives the go for please release this piece of information. It can be the location of the plate. It can be a riddle that tells you what the plate is all about, or it can just be a picture of the plate. But it just means you will get this plate. And the upper plate, that is actually a special plate. It's unique. It's as unique as a private key. And we can recover that at any time for you, whether you're alive or you're not. This part, you can just prompt us. We can send it to you back. By just having this one, we cannot do anything because we need both. So we can never crack your key. And if you lose this, which is the most expensive part of the two, you can actually get it back just by calling us. And this part, it's the cheapest part of the whole solution. So in the checkout, we just ask you, please take two if you don't trust yourself. And for $10, or you will see what the price is for that, you will see, you will actually double your recovery odds. That's it in a really, really quick version, but any questions?
Okay. I have one question, if I may. Ram, is there enough time?
Yes.
These plates, are they part of standard package, or is that an add-on item?
You can buy them as a bundle, but you can also buy them separately, yes.
Okay, and obviously only you can produce them. So how does that work with the B2B approach?
Well, so obviously our go-to-market strategy is first the B2C parts, because that's where the money is these days. In the meanwhile, we will be building on the B2B version as well. I'm not convinced that these two plates are really B2B proof. So I think we will have to review it there. For example, somebody already mentioned it. You have Shamir secret sharing. You have also Verbile secret sharing. You have a lot of beautiful cryptographic solutions that could help you avoid the plates. But for B2C, this is really easy to use. It's a perfect solution, and you don't need anybody else to basically reconstruct the key, give you part of the key, just as in the Shamir secret sharing setup.
Okay, and it's always 2 plates. So would it be possible to have a solution with 3 plates for 5 plates?
Yes, that would be possible. It's not something we're going to release immediately, yeah, but there is a possibility to do so. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, guys. I see that the mentors, you have been really great. Thank you for interacting. I do want to add one thing as well to NGRAVE, to NGRAVE's benefit, is that it's all manufactured here in Europe, mostly in Belgium. But you can watch, he mentioned it yesterday, he covered about where are the devices being manufactured. And that's about it. NGRAVE is going tomorrow live again at 2 p.m. If any of you would want to see Ruben again and what other questions the new mentors will have, tune in at 2 p.m. tomorrow. From you, the mentors here, drop me and Maria an email with feedback, helpful feedback. We will debrief next week with each of the startups once we get all the feedback from the mentors. I know it's a big sacrifice you're doing for us. 3 hours is not it's actually a lot to ask, especially online. So once again, on behalf of Maria and myself, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's been interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Commercials, please.
Hi, my name is Ruben Merre. I am co-founder and CEO of NGRAVE, and I'm from Belgium. NGRAVE is a blockchain technology company on a mission to radically improve your security and your ease of use when you're managing your cryptocurrencies. Fun fact about myself, I love surfing, and I noticed that Ram, one of the co-founders of the program, is actually an ex-pro surfer. So yeah, please accelerate me on that as well. Why did I become an entrepreneur? Well, when I was 8 years old, I had my first tiny little business, and I just loved it. And these days, every day I go to work for NGRAVE, I just have that same feeling. It's something that comes from inside. It's your nature that says this is what you're supposed to do. What I think I will get out of the program, what I hope to get out of the program is, first of all, obviously grow my network. Secondly, I know that the platform is also used as a due diligence kind of way for potential investors. So I'm confident we will get value out of that as well. And thirdly, we are actually launching our pre-order campaign, the 26th of May on Indiegogo. So these 4 weeks are actually running up to that. So I believe we can gain a lot of traction during the time. And obviously, I just want to show you a little sneak peek of our NGRAVE Zero hardware wallet. Completely offline, you can create and manage your own cryptocurrency accounts. That's it. Next sneak peek will maybe show a little bit more. Thank you very much.